We are live.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our regular council meeting of February 10th, 2021. Just go around the table. We have a few vacant seats this evening, so I'll just go around the table as to who's here and who's not. We have the town clerk, Joanne Perry, town manager, Sandy Collins, Councillor Jess Paul, Councillor Gerald Perry is absent, sickness. Councillor Chantel Lynch is absent. She's taken up a position in Eastport. Councillor Richard Kelly is here. Councillor Craig Arnold is there. Deputy Mayor David Saunders is not here. He is recuperating in a hospital. So with that, we'll begin with the minutes of the regular meeting of January the 13th, 7:30 p.m. Motion to adopt, please.
I'll move for adoption.
Councillor Kelly, second by Councillor Arnold. All in favor? Everybody? Anything arising from those minutes?
Lands Committee have the meeting?
No, the chair wasn't on.
That's right.
Not able to attend.
We're going to leave both 3 and 5, the old timers and the Lands Committee until sometime later. I guess we will.
Not much other choice really
No.
right now.
Okay, well, we'll leave it for time.
No rush.
Okay. From the 14th? The 14th?
Yeah, so actually that's included. Yeah, that'll be addressed shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, if there are none, we'll move to the Public Works meeting on January the 19th.
Move for adoption.
Moved by Councillor Kelly, second by Councillor Arnold. All in favor? Everybody? Oh, we adopted those before. we didn't need to do that, Councillor Kelly, but that's okay. The minutes that's there, I'll just mention very quickly because we haven't talked about them in a public meeting, but there are 2 recommendations there from the Public Works Committee. The first one was in response to a request from the Turnover Trail Riders to widen and groom a trail from the end of Campbell Place to Future Street. And the recommendation was that council would allow the trail to proceed while retaining the right to close the trail for any reason deemed necessary by council. It was designated as a winter trail only. And the second item was a correspondence from Jonas and Diane Stead with runoff in the area of their driveway or opposite their driveway on Main Street. And the recommendation was that Public Works would install a catch basin at the bottom of the driveway that borders their property, and in addition, a culvert would be installed connected to a catch basin and run back across the driveway into the existing ditch. So if there are no questions on any of that, we'll move to the next one. And the next council meeting was on January the 21st at 1 p.m. Excuse me, no motion on that one? Yeah. That was already adopted. The previous one was already adopted. We just did it again, but we already had adopted it earlier. Okay. At another council meeting.
You'll see that as you move along.
Yeah, it'll come up. But we do need a motion to adopt January 21st.
I move.
Councillor Arnold, second. Councillor Paul, all in favor? Everybody? And this is the decision to advertise for a position for a temporary employee to cover our rec position, Dean Rousel sick leave until February the 12th. And that was moved and adopted at that particular point in time.
Question on that is any indication if he can be coming back as well?
No, it appears that employee will be gone until March 10th, I think is the latest.
Okay.
We've received, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move then to the Heritage Committee meeting held at Council Chambers on January 21st at 1:30. adopt them. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Paul, all in favour? Everybody? The first, there was some discussion there, you can see at the beginning, there's 4 items. The first one is to some maintenance around the old mill fencing and so on, to widen the trail between the fence and the roadside. There was a discussion around some storyboards, around things like the red eyes, that's become quite popular apparently down there. And the river itself, excuse me. Pam, our economic development officer, was trying to contact Andrea at the Heritage Society, but that hasn't happened yet. There was also a discussion around Stroud Cemetery. There was a request to the committee that would ask to have the council deem it a heritage site. And we noticed, of course, that it predates other cemeteries in the area, but it's not associated with any religious groups. There's also discussion of the tours, possible tours around the old mill, and there was some discussion around whether it would be students and seniors doing the tours. We do have a commitment from Councillor Perry, Kevin Stroud, and Phil Riggs. They wouldn't mind doing some tours. I'm sure there might be others around the town that would be interested as well. There was also some information handed around as well. Then there was a discussion of Bride's Hill. There was a request to have it renamed Hayward's Lookout. But the Fry family apparently was a little bit concerned. But the first recommendation from that meeting, the council, was to designate Strouds Point Cemetery as an historical site. And we need a motion from council to do that. Moved by Councillor Kelly. Second. Councillor Arnold. Any discussion on that one? How would you determine the location or the size? Well, yeah, I think they've there has been some parameters kind of designated down there, but I don't think we're just, what we would do is just basically designate the area and say that this has significance, historical significance kind of thing. There'd need to be a plaque or something put down there, some signage that would indicate that it has some significance, right? There was a fence at one point, but I don't know where that sits right now. It wouldn't affect the residents down there, would it? Well, it shouldn't interfere. Well, our sign won't interfere, certainly.
But didn't they get some kind of a survey on that land down there?
I think so.
Committee.
Yeah,
because there's a committee set up for this cemetery.
That's where this came from. Survey, but there was what, two or 3 years ago.
I think there was actually.
We went down to look at it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so we did. Yeah, true. Anyway, if there's no other discussion, you ready for the question? All in favor? Is that everybody? Yeah. Okay. So we'll accept the recommendation into as designated. The second one is a recommendation that was based on the Fry family not being overly interested or in favor of naming the individual sites at the Ken Diamond Park. So not fulfilling the request of naming the lookout, but we would recommend erecting an interpretive plaque or memorial bench in the area, just sort of indicating what was in that area or where significance might have been. So again, we need a motion to accept that. I'll move that. Councillor Paul?
I'll second.
Councillor Kelly? Any further discussion on that one? This would be a sign similar to the ones that are in Ken Diamond now.
But we have to go back to Fly Foundation again with our recommendation, or just...
Probably.
Well, in the motion would be that we go back, subject to their...
I guess so. I'm not sure where we stand on that, because we have been kind of doing signage, but we've also been working with them on signage, so...
We don't offset them on
no, we certainly don't.
Subject to their approval, right?
If it were only a bench, we do benches all the time in the park. But if it's something out of the ordinary, if it is a plaque or something like that, perhaps maybe we'll certainly give them a heads up if something else.
For sure.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, the next one was adopted as before as well. This is a Human Resource Committee meeting of January 25th at 4 p.m. And the meeting was called to review resumes for the municipal worker 2 position. It was a fill-in, and there were 8 applications, 5 of them were interviewed. That's just minutes of that particular meeting. Any questions? They were already adopted. The next one was also adopted by Council, the Human Resource Committee meeting of the 26th, and this is a result of the interviews that were done for the position of municipal rec worker and the fill-in position. And the recommendation from Council, of course, was that Kevin James was offered that position. So again, that's just for information, public information, and it has already been adopted. The next Council meeting is on January the 27th at 10 a.m.
Move for adoption.
Second by Councillor Arnold. All in favor? Everybody. And these minutes, although they were, it was a council meeting. There were a couple of recommendations there that you can see. And I'll just run through them very quickly. Recommendation number 1 on the first page was moved by Councillor Lynch, second by Councillor Arnold, that Council accept the recommendation of Public Works Committee held on January the 19th. And this was allowed permission for this road, the trail, the Skidoo Trail, that we talked about a minute ago from Campbell Place to Future Street. So barring no objections, the town would allow the trail to proceed while retaining the right to close the trail. As I said, there may be some repetition of some of the things that we talked about earlier. The second one is the second recommendation from Public Works, and this was the culvert and Saunders Cove, and again, that's already been dealt with. Number 6 on the next page was again in the hiring of Kevin James for the municipal rec worker, which we've done. The next one I think is going to come up later on as well. It's in correspondence. This is the move by Councillor Lynch and second by Councillor Kelly that Council approved the rezoning of a portion of future development area and the Green Shore to general industrial. In an earlier motion, this area was to be rezoned to tourism commercial in its entirety. This change would allow for a section near the shipyard, the Glovertown shipyard, for future development. So that's something that was done at that particular time. So that's again just for information purposes. Any questions? The next one is the Economic Development Recreation Committee meeting of February the 4th. Need a motion to adopt. Councillor Kelly, second Councillor Arnold. All in favor? Everybody? There's 2 recommendations from this one. This is in reference to the consultant for the Glovertown Community Market. We have been funded for that. That was in minutes earlier. And this recommendation, the first one is to accept the proposal of Goss Gilroy as the management consultant for the Glovertown Community Market. And this is a recommendation, of course, from the Economic Development Recreation Committee. So we had a number of applications, a number of proposals. I think there was 4 altogether. And the committee narrowed them down to this one in consultation with some of the funders and so on. So we need a motion to accept that recommendation. Moved by Councillor Arnold, second by Councillor Paul. Any discussion? All in favor? Everybody? Everybody? The next recommendation was to postpone issuing the RFP for lighting in Kendam Park until April 2021. Excuse me, weather permitting. So that's in response to the funding, of course, that we received from the provincial government. Town manager, what was it referred to? It was a
Yes, this was COVID stimulus fund that we applied for, so it was up to $150,000. We applied for just short of that, and were approved. So in discussions at this meeting, we talked about part of this, of course, is the lighting, but the other part is the anchoring the lights at the steady. So soil samples may need to be taken, just generally looking at what type of landscape you have there and what you're going to be able to use to anchor those lights. So it wouldn't really make sense to have people going up there in February digging through the snow to try to find out if it's bog or rock or whatever the stake is. So we figured if we postpone it until April, that would allow enough time, and it doesn't have to be spent until December coming. So we have some time to do this, but I thought this would only be prudent to allow the snow to be done.
The work will be done this summer.
Yeah.
You refresh my memory.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. Was this passed by council for those to say? I can't remember. Was that? Okay.
This was just a recommendation to postpone. We were ready to go.
No, I know. I was just wondering if it was. It was passed to do the lighting.
It all happened rather quickly because the announcement came out through the government that they had this funding available, and then they had, I think it was like a week, we had to get an estimate in, get a project chosen. So we were acting really quickly, but it did go through council, but it went a lot quicker than most things in discussions, just based on the fact that we had to get the application.
So we don't know if that'll be solar or...
No, that's what the RFP will request, right?
Yeah.
Let us know. But that was in this item here was in response to the RFP was ready to go out. So they had a second thought about it because at the point we didn't have any snow. But then of course we did. It was a thought that it might be wise to postpone. Okay, we're down to.
Motion to accept that.
Oh, we didn't get the motion the last one. Okay. Moved by Councillor Kelly, second by Councillor Arnold. All in favour? Thank you. Now we're ready to move on, and of course we're down to deferred business. So the municipal plan amendment is in the minutes. That's the one I mistakenly mentioned a minute ago. That's the one that's in the minutes for later, I guess. Or do you want to do it now? Just want to leave it till it comes up, I guess. So we'll deal with that one. The letter from the old timers, we said that's to be a meeting to be set a little later. Zone change request for tower equestrian, anything new?
No, in process.
In the process?
Yeah.
Okay. And the RV dumping station, we left that there till spring. Review policies for subdivision extension to existing roads and water and sewer, that's to be done for the spring as well. And there was a request from on future street land that's the land committee that hasn't been
postponed yet.
So that's been postponed. There's no permits or Crown land applications or recommendations. So I guess we're down to the town manager's report.
Okay, just a couple things. I had mentioned some time ago that our asset management, that project that we were doing through Track Consulting and FCM, we've received funding through, that's reached a conclusion now. Like they've gotten their work done, so they want an opportunity to present to council. They've already, myself and Matt have done the extensive presentation, which was 2 to 3 hours, but now they want to do a shorter, maybe an hour or two, where they want council to come in and to understand what asset management is and to see what the project that they've created and the program they've created actually is and how it works. So they gave me a couple potential dates. This was supposed to be done a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, sorry, but things had gotten pushed off and whatever the case is. So there were 5 dates she had suggested: the 17th, 19th, 23rd, 24th, and 26th were the 5 dates she gave.
What's the days?
Yeah.
So
the 17th,
Wednesday.
So Wednesday.
Okay.
Thursday.
That's Friday, 19th.
Oh, Friday, I'm sorry. And what we noticed, 23rd. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday of the week following.
But during the day?
They're pretty flexible, so be dependent on us. Might have to be in the evening, though, in order for that amount of time, hey?
Anybody with preferences, or does it matter? Or?
In the evening don't make no difference to me.
No.
If I'm here.
Well, we can't have it on the last Friday of the month. Last Wednesday of the month, sorry. Scheduled council meeting.
There's not scheduled for 24th, was there?
We haven't even had.
Well, 24, no.
19th and 26th is out. And 24th, so you're down to the 17th or the 23rd. 17th is an off Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, I suppose the off night, eh?
Yes.
Good to me. About the council.
17th?
17th is Troy, next Wednesday night then.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock, 7 to 8, eh?
Now, it may run 2 hours. If we want to start a little earlier, did you want to try 6:30? 7? Okay.
I'm going to add it after 8.
Okay. Okay, so we're good on that. Next, I was speaking to Reg at DMG. Of course, he's looking, that's the engineers that are looking at our storage tank. He wants to come out and run a couple more tests because, again, as I stated before, he's not so sure that the water storage tank is the answer to our issues. He thinks there's some issues with the pipes and growth inside the pipes that's causing restricted flow. So he thinks the money would be better spent fixing that problem as opposed to creating another one by putting the storage tank up on the hill. He was wondering if he could meet with council to go over his decision that he's hoping to get it next Tuesday, so sometime after that to sit down with council and have a discussion around the table. That would probably be a daytime meeting that he would be out, and I would suggest probably would only take between a half hour and an hour, but I think it's an important one to have because this project may completely change focus from a storage tank to, like I said, addressing the issue with the lines, which would fix the water pressure for Station Road.
As long as the solution. So long as the solution is there.
Are you going to design something again for that, or?
This is DMG.
Design management, yeah.
So, I guess,
I don't know how the people are going to take that up.
Wasn't until earlier about
People are saying that they haven't got pressure, and we do this and we don't get no more pressure. Then we got to go back to the government again.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, we may have $1 million tank.
100%. They're going to tell us, yes, this is the problem.
Yeah.
well, that's certainly
There's so much of that going on in the last 25 years.
But now, in the meantime, we need that discussion with him.
Oh, definitely.
See how convinced he is that's the problem. But I think the other side of that, of course, would be the same thing. Put the tank up there and we're still no better off. Because I think this is where he's coming from. He's saying that may not be a solution. So you got both sides, right?
So he went over the history of it, and he's very familiar with it. That tank was born out of the idea that Traytown would hook onto Glovertown's water. That's where it came out of. And then after Traytown kind of fell off the table with regards to a regionalized water system, the tank stayed. That was proposed by our previous engineering company. So when DMG was awarded the tender to do the consulting on it, they looked at it, and it was a fresh set of eyes. And right off the get-go, he wasn't convinced that would fix the problem because he's seen similar issues around Bishop Falls, Grand Falls area. So now upon further looks, they've done lots of testing on the hydrants in the area, went around with our public works, and he said the numbers are wonky. There's numbers that should be higher, there's numbers should be lower, they're all over the place, and there's a reason for that. So he said to put a tank up there may not fix the problem at all. You may not even be able to fill the tank, and then you may have to rechlorinate it.
The main issue is, are we going to get the power pressures?
Right, that's his goal. Right.
You can fix all the lines you like. If we're not going to get the pressure, I still say you would have to put a new line from where Paul Orr put it on. You definitely would have to put new lines in there.
I think this part of the
Well, the
solution
twinning,
was the twinning. Right?
yeah, the twinning is half of those $2 million project, half and half basically. The storage tank was $1 million, the twinning of the lines was $1 million. So the twinning of the lines would happen from the booster station up,
That's what I mean.
right? But now they're looking at the lines before the booster station. He said the capacity of those boosters, those pumps up there should be plenty to give you fire flows up there, but he said there's restrictions getting it.
Don't have to spend the $2 million.
Right, but hopefully get value for it, as opposed to a big tank up on the hill.
Well, they have to peak the lines.
Oh yeah. Well, this is
You can't put new lines in the ground.
This is a discussion we certainly got to have with him when he comes out.
Yeah.
So
Money.
get all your arguments and all your questions
I'll have a few questions on it.
before you get there. All right. So my suggestion would be, as we've done before, of course, is for Councillor Ireland probably is a 1 o'clock meeting if it's going to be during the daytime that allows him to participate. So if it's some day during the week when it's 1 o'clock or something like that, but keep that.
So I'll wait because he has to come out and do some tests before. But as soon as I get that word, I can even reach out to Councillor Arnold and see what they.
So the public works meet with them and then recommend to the council.
No, it's on the council. He wants to meet. He wants to meet with council
As a body.
As a body.
Okay.
If not, you have to have 2 meetings.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
For me,
That's
thank
all
you.
to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go around a very small table. Councillor Paul?
No? Fine.
Councillor Kelly?
No.
Councillor Arnold?
No.
Okay, and I don't have anything. So we're down to correspondence. The first item from the Bank of Nova Scotia, this is a boring resolution. The town clerk could probably explain.
We do this annually. This is for the $10,000 credit we have with our credit card. And every year we have to adopt this borrowing resolution in order for the Bank of Nova Scotia to allow us the credit. So I need
I move.
I second.
Moved and second, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Arnold, all in favour? Okay, everybody. The next item is an email from Municipalities Newfoundland, and this is called Important Provincial Election Updates. It's for your information. One of the things, for instance, I think we're all pretty much familiar with is that municipalities are prohibited from making monetary contributions to political parties. I think we've known that for some time, but again, there are some other things here that may be of interest to some of you.
We put a stop to that a few years
A long time ago, yeah. The next item
Those frozen there.
is a letter from David Parsons. He's looking for an appeal of the decision that we turned down his shed, the permit for his shed. Did you want to speak to that, Town Manager?
So this came to the table some time ago, but basically he's applied to put a shed near where the other two old structures, there's already two structures on that property on the water side opposite his house, so across the road and on the water, near where the sailboat, the Brookings sailboat, I guess,
Yeah.
a good way of explaining it. That zone is open space conservation along that shoreline, and he's looking to build another building, an additional building there, and based on the building regulations, it states that there is no development in open space conservation. So in order to grant him his wish, we'd have to rezone essentially, I imagine. That would be the only way, otherwise we'd be going against our own development regulations.
That was already advised. He was already advised of that in the letter that went in.
Yeah.
Can we go back to him and if he removes two buildings here now, about one building there,
No.
he's just replacing what's there now, what wrong with that?
I don't know.
He'd still need a building permit. Like,
I know,
can't
but why would we issue a building permit if it's two there now already? So if he's only gonna take it down, put another one there.
It's irrelevant because we can't issue a building permit on open space conservation, whether he takes down a shopping mall to put up a shed.
But it's their grandfather, no?
The existing buildings we're not tearing down, but if he goes
I'm saying, if he tore the building down, could we give him a permit to build another building on that same?
Absolutely not. Not under the building regulations.
Had to rezone it.
They have to be rezoned, which of course is an expense to him as well.
Yes,
Right?
yes, take rezoning, yeah.
And we're not even sure we want to do that.
But even if we had a rezone, it's close to the water.
It's not
So
much
the
land.
only zoning that would be permitted would allow him a wharf or a boathouse. That would be the only things that are allowed along the shoreline.
True.
So he can build a boathouse there.
If it were
If
rezoned.
it were
If he
rezoned,
rezoned it.
but that's not what he wants to build, though. He wants to build a full shed.
If he rezoned it, he could, but otherwise he couldn't. Right?
But I see all around the shoreline, people are
It depends on how it's zoned. See, and this is zoned differently than some of the other commercial areas and everything. It's just the way it's been for years. So I guess we'll go back to them, unless there's some.
Just to clarify,
Yeah.
Councillor Paul, so if you look at the zoning map that we have there,
Yes.
look at the shoreline, most of it isn't zoned open space conservation, but there is some areas, for some reason, I don't know, because they've been there for some time. This is one of those smaller areas that's zoned as open space conservation, which may have been put in place because they wanted to save the vista. Like, you know what I mean? When you're driving down the road, you don't want buildings built up blocking the view of the bay. This is one of those areas. So like down where Lou Griffith and Elvis had their buildings, that's not open space conservation.
Who issued a permit for the guy got the sailboat there and the wharf?
To my knowledge, there's been no permit issue
So he's
there.
put in
There's nothing built there.
There's no structure there.
There's work there.
Yeah, it was not a shed. It's a dock under
Okay,
the
so he can
harbor.
put a wharf, but he can't put a shed there, is that what you're saying?
To my knowledge, he wasn't issued a permit for a
No.
wharf.
Okay. Well, trying to help the guy.
I don't know if we ever, I can't remember ever giving anybody a permit for a wharf.
Well, that's more environmental fisheries and so on, right? I think.
But the thing is, stopping days there, is different zoning.
Yeah. It's zoned differently than some of the areas.
That zone's supposed to be zone open space.
Small, if you look at it. It's relatively small in that particular area, but you go down Clay Cove, there's a large piece that's open space conservation.
It's unfortunate as far as he's concerned.
Yes. Well, whatever reason it got there, it must be put into the plan sometime.
Absolutely.
Put it in there.
It was a decision to put it there.
Yes.
No, there
wouldn't be there.
Decision.
Then somebody must have issued a permit for him to put the 2 buildings there, his father, his grandfather at one point.
I said that predates the zone.
Before
council?
Yes, I would say that's there before council.
No good speculating. We don't know.
Since 1945, according to Mr. Parsons in his letter, when his dad moved in from the island.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move into the next item, which is, back to the previous one. So we'll send a letter, of course, with the same information that we had sent earlier with that as well. This one now is a letter from Gander, from Council in Gander, I guess, is it? About the number of jobs and so on that's being lost. No, this is a separate one, sorry. This is about the Gander Airport. And it's just for information, but there's another one coming in just a minute, I think, that asks us to sign a letter of concern, if you like. I don't think there's any request for any action on that one. Obviously, everybody knows the effects that the loss of flights and so on is having at the Gander International Airport, and how it's affecting, of course, everybody in the area. The next one is a letter from our municipal account manager for insurance at Calibro Insurance, and this was a request that I made to the town clerk with some concerns that I had about the fact that the organization that I was working with at the time, the Roads and Beaches Tourism Association, did not have liability insurance, director's liability. And of course, the information in the outset there is quite clear. Our town's insurance does not cover me, or anybody for that matter, in a role like that at the Tourism Association, and they do not advise participation. So I've already indicated to the Roads and Beaches Tourism Association that unless that is changed very quickly, then of course I will be tendering my resignation as a member of that organization, obviously, because I can't afford to have, a claim come against, well, certainly not against me and certainly not against the town. That's on hold.
You're so smart, folks.
Listen, I surprise you every day, Kelly. The next item is a letter from Keith Ounsel, and this is in relation to the road that extends into his new property that he has on Riverview Road, off Anglebrook, and he wants the town to consider paving that road. So, of course, my recommendation was we put it on file until we do our capital works again. And
what road is he talking? The one that goes in
into his house from Anglebrook,
just across from Rex Sweet Apple.
Oh yes. Yeah. Put it on the list, boy.
Put it on the list for next time, and we'll consider it then, I guess. Next item is a memo from Memorial University engineering students, or Memorial University related to engineering students, and it's just for our information, and suggests, of course, that there's a possibility that if we wanted, we could have a university student work here at the town if we had something that we wanted them to do. I guess we have our asset management done now. I think that was something we talked about for a number of years, but
We've talked about this, myself and the clerk. It would be nice, obviously, to have the student out here helping out on some projects, but I don't really know where we'd put them physically. It's kind of limited. So, because it's a great deal with the town only having to pick up 12.5% of the student's salary. So we're looking at, do the math on 25, about $3 an hour. Great value, but I don't know whether we physically sit him or her.
If you had a work for him to do, I'm sure we could find a place. I wouldn't mind sharing my office with anybody.
There you go. Make it official.
Yeah.
We got the work for him to do.
Yeah. But don't forget
you when paving jobs ago. Is that when you're talking about this spring?
Of course, this semester. Just one second.
Of course, in the winter,
Yeah, it doesn't.
not much to do in the winter time.
That's why.
Right now.
It could be, but with regards to, I guess we'd start in the next semester, but with regards to the community market,
Yeah.
some of the things, I'm sure we could utilize someone with an engineering skill set.
Yeah.
However, back to the main point, I don't know where he or her would sit on a daily basis as it stands right now.
I think today is the last day.
Mm.
1 week, the third, oh, 10th is today. Might have been too late already.
No, I don't think so.
No, probably not. No. Anyway, we can consider that, and if there's anything we can come up with,
Yeah.
That's the town manager follow up on
yeah,
that.
see what we can come up with, yeah.
Let's see if it's spring,
You would have to be willing to give up your
spring
own,
and summer.
right?
That would be
That's how
a small price to pay.
Okay.
I'll give you mine.
I can come in here.
Here's some job share, the insurance gets,
Anyway, if there's something worthwhile, I mean, obviously. The next item then is a letter from Bev Kane, and this is in relation to the garbage fee for Eagle Landing Village. There must be some background to this, I guess, town manager.
Yeah, so when the new, as I understand it, the former garbage collector doing his collection, he would go down to the end of Eagle Landing and turn around at the end and pick up the garbage from the row housing, if you will, and the house opposite, property opposite. When the new driver came in, of course, he, how can I say this? He didn't go down because it's not a town road. So he recognized that, so he would turn around near the lift station where Tina and Tim's house is right at that section before you make the turn. So when contacted and had this conversation, I guess Miss Burry thought it would be better to have her garbage picked up privately as opposed to have her residents in those houses bring it to the corner where the new driver drives to.
Okay.
So it was in response to that, but there has been conversations had, myself and Miss Kane and Mr. Kane, her brother, with regards to bringing that road up to a town standard to have it turned over, which was the plan a number of years ago, but never went through, right? If that were the case, then of course the garbage service would be extended to the end of that road.
And salt clearing and all the other
All
stuff
of
with
it,
it.
yeah.
you got it right up when you pave that down there, you pave right into the end of her property. She got it right up to.
Now, the only thing, the funding we've applied for, of course, we could only apply for the road that we owned at the time, so the funding that's in for municipal capital works is only to the lift station, the current application. Right.
We have a motion that we would discontinue collecting until the road is brought up standard, and then we'll divert back to.
That's our policy anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't really need to
and
reinvent it.
So we're not gonna collect any more money for her,
No.
perfect,
I need
okay.
a motion in that,
Thank you.
I need a motion to
It's
write off the tax, she has been levied for this year.
Okay.
So in order for
Good
me
point.
to adjust it, I have to have a motion of council, right?
Okay, so we need a motion to write off the tax that was associated
Okay,
with
I'll
it.
move.
In a second. Move in seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, it's everybody. Good. The next item is in relation to a municipal plan amendment and the appointment of a commissioner, and this is in relation to the Riverside East and Sweet Apple Terrace area. And I guess what's significant probably as much in this is that it also indicates that the zoning office has accepted the recommendations that was made by the town through our planning officer. And as a result, it's just a matter now of going through the process. You can see the information in the center of the paragraph there in the center of the section related to public hearings. Of course, there won't be public hearings, but you can send letters of concern, anybody who might have it. And this, I guess, will be on display here at the town hall. So we need a motion to accept these recommendations for change. Second. Moved and seconded by Councillor Arnold, seconded by Councillor Paul. All in favor?
So this would be to adopt the
municipal plan. And of course, we need now to accept the commissioner.
Yes.
Is that right?
To appoint George Ennis.
So George Ennis has been named the commissioner.
George Ennis from down in East Fork.
Yeah. So we need a motion to
Not him.
accept him as the commissioner.
The truth of the road.
Moved by Councillor Paul, second by Councillor Arnold. All in favor? you. So that's the map at the bottom there, of course, and there'll be one in the office. It's an interesting area as well. The next item for your information is the monthly report for policing for January 2021. Take that with you. The next item is a letter from the town of Gander. This is in relation to the air service at the Gander International Airport. They're asking us to sign a petition to re-establish national airline connectivity for Gander International Airport. And this, there's a fairly lengthy letter as well from Mayor Percy Farwell from Gander attached to this. And they're asking us on the second page of that letter, which is right in the middle if you like, to sign the petition as per the link in the email. Show your support for our cause on social media and in the press. To write to the Prime Minister, and there's a copy of a letter attached, requesting aviation aid so flights can resume, and to urge the government to launch testing programs for arriving passengers, and to encourage the provincial government to adopt supportive policies and provide aid. So how the council feel about the support? I move that we support it. I'll second. They move and second that we send a petition. All in favor?
Sign the petition and forward the letter?
The letter to the Prime Minister as well? Forward the letter as well. So include that with that motion? Yes. All in favor? Everybody was in favor, I think. So thank you very much. And the last item is a note from our councillor, Councillor Lynch. It says, effective immediately, I'm requesting a 3-month leave from my role as councillor. I've taken a new position with the town of Eastport and will be unable to fulfill my duties. I have been hired for 3 months only at this point. If that changes, I will tender my resignation. So I guess we need a motion to accept her request. Second. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Arnold. All in favor? Okay. There's a check register. Motion to accept, please.
I move.
Second by Councillor Paul. All in favor? Everybody? Motion to adjourn, please.
Moved.
Second. Moved and second. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Arnold. Thank you very much, folks.